Okay, so my topic of choice is what is the career outlook in a field of your choice? Consider job growth, compensation, benefits, and what kind of academic or climate change would be for that profession. I chose to do healthcare administrator. I myself have been a nurse for 10 years. I've been a CNA for 4 years. And then before that, I worked as a resident assistant for 2 years. And then prior to that, I worked in the dietary department. And prior to that, I worked in the laundry department. So I've been in healthcare since I was 14 years old. And I always wanted to be a registered nurse. And so that's what I have been working my way towards. And then recently, I decided to go for business just because I wanted to change up things and try something different. And I have a lot of experience working in administrative positions over the past year in healthcare. I've been successful. I'm a highly motivated individual, and my range has been working in education. With a registered nurse, I would teach other nurses how to be good charge nurses or how to function better in a company. And I did that for the Baptist Health in Scotia. I functioned there for about a year as an education assistant, and I would hold classes that I prepared and taught myself. And I really liked being in front of people teaching them. Public speaking is something that I'm kind of a natural at, and it's best for me when it flows from within. And healthcare, I am passionate about. So, okay. And then the other job that I did was a quality assurance nurse for the Guilderland Nursing Center. I worked there about 6 months, and when I got to the facility, I went in just looking for a job on a medication cart and ended up sitting in a meeting with a lot of people that I had already worked with in different facilities in my career. And they immediately saw me and thought you would make a great QA nurse, because your attention to detail, and, I tend to go for the right thing in healthcare. I'm not a follower. I'm more of a leader. And so for about 6 months, I was in a position where I was part of the top 3 members of the building. And I worked closely with the administrator and the director of nursing, enforcing the changes that need to happen in that company. After a year of being in administrative roles, I decided to get out of them and go back to the core of nursing and taking care of people again. And currently, I do just work as a nurse, as a licensed practical nurse, passing medication and taking care of people, because I felt drawn back to that, so I could focus on school and not be so stressed out and make sure that I'm focused on my studies more. Administration is a job that it's 24/7. When you're linked into a building and you're part of the core of the healthcare facility, and you're making sure that people have a job and that people have a home and that it's up to a standard that's acceptable for the state of New York, it's very hard. Things come up and you have to go and stop what you're doing and go right into work and start making sure things are going to go the way that they need to go in order to secure the facility. So basically, with the topic, I decided to look at the outlook and field of becoming a healthcare administrator. I never would have thought that career for myself, but as I started to look into it and read about it and really explore it, I'm starting to realize that I'm not that far off from becoming a healthcare administrator. I'm actually a lot closer than I thought. And being a registered nurse is something that I want to do. I've always wanted to do it, but I guess my driving force has always been to be above the people that were putting me down or be at that level. And through education and a lot of study and stuff and just personal healing and growth in the mind capacity, I've grown into a different person. And after scrolling all this information and realizing how close I am, and that this might actually be a better fit for me and make me more money, and I can actually make more of a positive change than just becoming a registered nurse. Okay. So, I collected a lot of information to answer the questions in what the question asks. And basically, I went online to health.newyork.gov professional nursing home administrator, and it lists pretty much all the qualifications that you need to become a healthcare administrator. It is based off of six different qualifications, and the first qualification is an age requirement for licensure. The state of New York requests that you are at least 21 years old and that you have proof of that via birth certificate, driver's license, or a passport. So that's one qualification. They also have the qualification of having a moral conduct or character that is befitting of one. So you kind of have to not have any, past history abuse or anything that would send up a red flag to the state of New York that you shouldn't be at the level of being in control and leading people. The third qualification is an educational for licensure, and I was quite surprised to realize that you don't need a master's. You just need a bachelor's, and it can be in related fields like business administration, or it could be in nursing, or it could even be more generalized with 5 different core classes. You have to have nursing home administration class, a healthcare financial management class, a legal issues in healthcare class, a genealogy, and a personal management class. All these things would come in very handy. As a healthcare administrator, you have to make sure the financial health is there for the company. So that was interesting to find out. The fourth qualification is an experience requirement for licensure. Or experience, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Experience requirement for licensure, which pretty much is you have to have 12 months in a board-approved administrator and training program, or you can have 24 months in a qualifying field experience as determined by the board. Pretty much whatever you want to do to get your experience, you have to get it pre-approved by the board before you start that program, and then as long as it's acceptable, you can use that as an experience. Next, there is a course of study requirement for licensure, which ends up being just pretty much the experience and the education coming together to make your qualification for experience and licensure. Examination requirement for licensure is there's an actual licensing board test, just like I took for my nursing license. I would have to sit for that as well. And once you pass that and you get all that together and it's approved, you would be able to become a healthcare administrator. So looking into the field a little bit more, I started looking into job growth, and there are some graphs that I pulled up that show percentages of the job matching from sites like Indeed and simplyhired.com. The graphs that I found on those things were quite promising, and it basically summarizes the fact that there is a healthy growth trend in the healthcare administration field, and there is a need for healthcare administrators, and it's a healthy need that will keep going and going. And they predict that in 2020, the need will be more than it was even now. So it's a good job to get into because the job growth is there. Job compensation, I found a couple different sites, and one that I'm using for this is payscale.com. Basically, the information that I got off of that gave me a medium salary level, and I'm going with the medium from one being around $63,328 is the median from one site. And then a second site that I went to, which was publichealth.com, it kind of lists the benefits that they've explored for healthcare administrators. And that one said that you can get up to $200,000 as a top salary, and then the very low being about $30,000. Healthcare administrators can be used in many different fields. It can be a home healthcare agency, or it could be an agency for healthcare providers. Pretty much healthcare administration goes through the whole hospital, nursing home, labs, things like that. These companies need healthcare administrators. There are other benefits that I find more valuable than just the cash itself. I looked into the moral benefit of the satisfaction of helping others. As a nurse, that's always motivated me to go to work. Like when my life gets bad, I can look to the people around me and say, it's not as bad as this, and you should put it into perspective a little bit more and be thankful for where you're at. So I did like the idea of making a positive impact on healthcare in general, because working in the field for 15 to 16 plus years now, that's always been a driving force for me for a long time. And I feel like I'm getting stagnant in the level of what I can do being just a nurse. So looking forward to a brighter career being a healthcare administrator and sitting at the head of the table and going over things and maybe bringing back some things that always made me care more to make the new healthcare worker care a little bit more, would be awesome. It would be awesome and fulfilling to be able to make a difference in healthcare and not just be there helping people. Furthering community education is also a positive perk of being a healthcare administrator. As the administrator, you're part of the community, and these families are entrusting you with their family members. So it's good to be linked into the community, and that can give you such a feeling of involvement in your life. Making a difference in the treatment of diseases. Of course, being an administrator, you would be able to make decisions to have certain companies come in and maybe practice different kinds of medications that could help people heal faster or better. Keeping an eye out there and seeing what's going on with that. And that would go in as well with the benefit of medical research and being a part of assisting researchers to come up with better healthcare provision. And then creating a meaningful legacy. For a healthcare administrator, you're affecting the lives of the whole community, and it is leaving a legacy behind with a job like that. And I'm not saying that other jobs you can't leave a legacy behind, but with this, there is a positive benefit of being able to leave a legacy of your work, and other people can follow in your footsteps, see where you've gone. Other facilities can look at it and say, okay, look what this guy has done or this gal has done to better their facility and better the lives of the residents that live here. There are a vast array of career options for healthcare administrator position, and you are getting the benefit and reaping that of being, improving the healthcare face of healthcare in general. And, right now there's a real negative trend on healthcare because of all the negative stories that people hear and the way that they see their family being treated. So to be able to be a part of the positive in changing that, it gives you such a feeling of a benefit for other people. A healthcare administrator pretty much has to be linked into the financial obligation of the company as well and making sure it's healthy. So having those core classes where you're learning the finances of the healthcare company becomes very important. And I think it could be personally helpful for the individual because you're learning to manage a huge, company, and it could also help you learn to manage your family life and your own financial budget. Um, like I said, the economic outlook is good for that, and the climate change and academic change at this time, it doesn't look to be changing the requirements of what you're going to need to be a healthcare administrator. Um, it's basically laid out and it's not changing at this point. There's no climate change or any of that noted to be going in a negative direction. It's just kind of staying stable with what they want you to provide to become one. And then as you go on in the future, they're not seeing a big trend on changing requirements. With this, you can also get into different career options as well. So the potential to fulfill maybe moving into a different sector as you get older. If you're tired of this sector, you could always go into hospital or other different fields very quickly. Basically, that is it in a nutshell. Healthcare administrator, when I started looking at it, it felt more of a fit for me than becoming a registered nurse because I like to be in the forefront of change. And sometimes nurses are trapped in the middle between upper management, lower management, and getting people to treat people right. So it becomes very frustrating to try to get everybody on the same page. Whereas if I was a healthcare administrator, I would be listening to concerns and have a huge say in the changing climate of the environment of where I work. So all in all, I really appreciated this assignment. I thought that it gave me a chance to look at something that I probably wouldn't have been looking at as deep, and it kind of helped me to see more of where my path might be going. I'm not saying that I'm going to hold the fire and change everything in my life and just become this person, but I am saying that, it interested me a lot and it opened my eyes to a different career that I might be interested in instead of just being a registered nurse. Thank you for listening to my spiel, and have a wonderful rest of your day. And if there are any questions, please email me. Thank you. Bye-bye.